a bolt comes out of it and strikes behind me by probably less than 100 feet, maybe 50 feet. I don't know. It was close. And then I set up as fast as possible, said hi to this dead, decaying cow next to me on the road. Not that I expected to go viral every time. It was just, it happened again, and it happened out of a passion for what I love doing.
Welcome to Talent Freaks. I'm Andy, a filmmaker and photographer based in the Bay Area of California. And today we have an incredible guest, Mike Olbinski, based in Phoenix, Arizona, a professional photographer and storm chaser whose stunning work has captured my admiration for a long time. Mike has been creating these amazing, beautiful time lapses of supercells as they form. And every year he releases massive 7 to 14 minute compilations of the storms he's caught on camera. They're absolutely gorgeous, with music that perfectly complements the breathtaking imagery. I've been a fan of his for years, so when he agreed to join me on the pod, I was beyond excited to connect with him and share his work with you. Now, Mike's passion takes him all over the country to capture nature's most powerful phenomena: lightning storms, monsoons, dust storms, and more. His work includes not just photography, but also time lapses, filmmaking, teaching, consulting, and fine art. His footage has been licensed by National Geographic, the BBC, Marvel, and other big names. And today we dive into his art, his craft, and the adventures behind those jaw-dropping images. And I want to take a quick moment here. I know some of you are finding this channel for the first time, and a lot of you probably haven't hit that subscribe button yet, and that's totally cool. But if you like what you hear, why not stick around and like, subscribe, and hit that bell, and share with your friends. It helps this little community grow. All right, enough of that. Now, let's meet Mike Olbinski.
Thank you, Mike Olbinski, for joining me on Talent Freaks. This is such a pleasure. I've been a fan of your photography, your time lapses, your monsoons, and it's a joy to finally have a conversation with you.
Well, thanks for having me on, Andy. I appreciate it, man. It's what I love to do, so I'm glad you were drawn to it somehow.
It was a long time ago that I was drawn to it, and I'm really impressed how you've maintained not just the quality and keep going up, but also doing it for such a long time. Talk to me about, when you first, this is the struggle I have as far as questions, because I'm fascinated by, when did you know that this is something that you wanted to do?
I don't think that I don't know that I knew it was what I wanted to do. It was just, I just started doing it kind of thing. And eventually, when I really got into it, I looked back a little bit on my early life and found, a box of photos from like high school and that I had taken like a senior trip and stuff around. And I found a photo of a storm that I shot outside our house in Chandler when I'm assuming like 12 or 13 or 14 or something like that. And I was like, wow, that's a really cool looking storm. I mean, like I'd be excited. I would be excited to see that now. And I was fascinated by the fact that at that age, I went out and took a picture of a storm. It was like in me to do that. Now, of course, I grew up loving the weather because I live in Phoenix, Arizona, which is a desert, and I have a husky who's dumb. Hey, zip it. And we don't get a lot of rain, I mean, Phoenix gets like 6 inches of rain a year, where some people can get 6 inches of rain in a day, so getting thunderstorms and stuff in the summer is what we love, and so I grew up loving storms, and I think my dad was kind of responsible for that. We'd sit outside and watch weather and things like that. So eventually, like, it just became something where I got fascinated with lightning, and I want to learn how to take pictures of a lightning bolt and how do people do that. It's insane. And so it kind of started from there, just learning that, and then seeing Storm Chasers show on Discovery Channel, and I didn't realize people did that. And I'm like, oh, I can go out and try to get better shots of lightning by driving 40 miles instead of just waiting for a storm to come to me. And it just slowly went there. And it wasn't, like I said, till years later that I felt like I could look back and go, wow, this is probably what I've been meant to do my whole life. I just didn't know.
What was the age range around when you just started like, this is it?
Well, I'm 50 now, and it's so that was probably like 2008, 2009 that I really started trying to capture lightning. So, yeah, it was in my 30s. And what's really funny is I just finished getting a degree in a bachelor's of information systems, so I could make, more money at my job at this electrical engineering company, and I got a nice raise, and then I got into photography and quit, and I'm still paying off student loans for that stuff. And I don't ever, I mean, if I ever get a job, I'm sure I'll use it again. But I have it, and I'm still paying it off, and I don't even care about that world right now. So it's pretty ironic.
So it's interesting. I went to your YouTube and I saw the first time lapse you did. And
Hmm.
you have over 200 videos on YouTube, which is just amazing. And you could see
Wow.
the growth in your,
Hmm.
photography, but also, and it's funny because I have kind of like the same thing on mine. Um,
Hmm.
but the one thing that I love is not only like you have it up there, it's kind of like showing us, yeah, you can go from this to where you have. But what was that steady progression like for you? And when did you know, like, aha, like I'm starting to get it?
It was 2011. I started getting in a time lapse, and it was literally my second day. And I caught this dust storm over downtown Phoenix that turned out to be this historic, one of a kind beast of a dust storm, and it went viral, and it kind of put my name out there, put me on the map a little bit. And because of that, people would license the footage. All these requests came in for it, and so I decided, hey, I love doing this anyway. I'm gonna try to get more time lapse footage. But as you go on, you're like, is this a one and done kind of thing? Did I just get lucky? I'm one of those people that lightning struck once, and is that it? But then 2 years later, I was chasing in Texas, supercells, tornadoes, stuff like that, and caught the supercell near the town of Booker. And I posted that with some music. It was the first time I really like put something together, and it was short, but I found some music by this guy Kevin MacLeod, and he gives his music for free, and it was really beautiful. And I put it together, and that went viral. And in fact, it was like the #1 video on Vimeo for 2013. And I was like, okay, so maybe this is what I was meant to do. And not that I expected to go viral every time. It was just it happened again, and it happened out of a passion for what I love doing. And so then I'm like, okay, I think I'm on the right path here. And then I just kind of kept advancing out of that.
So one of the things that I watch when I watch your videos, I'm like, how do you know where to get that shot? So
Jeez.
do you use radar? Do you use all
Oh
the
yeah,
technology for maps?
everything.
How do you learn like to set up in the right place to get those?
I mean, honestly, it's just experience. I mean, that Booker Supercell 2013. That was like my third or fourth year out trying to get something. I'm still just learning. I'm flying by the seat of my pants. And that specific day was like not just that we got that storm was kind of life altering, but the fact that we were, especially me. I had my friend Andy, actually with me that day, Andy Holand, and we were making wrong decisions because we just weren't used to being out there. Whenever I would watch TV shows or see anything about supercells, they always moved northeast. So in my head, I'm like, that's what they do. They just move northeast. So every time we were get in position, we would go northeast, and the storms were going southeast. And so every time we would get somewhere, then all of a sudden it would just move away from us, and we'd be stuck in hail, and we never could get out of it. And then finally, I'm like, hey, I see what's happening. We need to get south of all this mess to where they're moving towards us. And then when we did that, boom, we got in the part where we see the mothership, and then we kept moving, and then it was like, okay, I figured this out today. And from that point on, it felt like I started understanding a little bit more about positioning. It was like a major just experience where I learned from. And then over the years, it's literally just it's experience. You can go out and be on, especially here in Arizona, monsoon storms are crazy because they just pop up and they fade away. Sometimes they do certain things, sometimes they don't. sometimes you want to be on the east side, sometimes the west. Like where should you be on these things? And it's all just learning, and it's all experiencing. It's learning how to read the sky, reading the clouds. You know, sometimes I got really proud over the years where I'd see a huge storm going up, but you wouldn't, maybe a normal person might not know because there's no rain yet, there's no lightning yet, but I can look and I see a base and it's monstrous. And I had this girl with me once doing like a workshop, and it was a pretty good day, and we're driving up the freeway and I look out and there's this big base that's growing and nothing has fallen out of it yet. It's not like rain started. It was just massive. And I'm like, this is about to be a big deal. Like it's all this is hanging up there in the sky waiting to collapse. And sure enough, like we look over and finally it done, and we had this just insane sharp downburst of hail just like come crashing down off the right. You could just see it. And sometimes it comes down and it's like soft and it just kind of rains, then it starts getting heavier. This was like just, and then that whole thing turned into kind of a supercell and an epic night and all this stuff. And it was those kind of things where you eventually learn to read it, know where to be, the direction storms are going. And yeah, so I use apps in my phone for modeling, for radar, where to be, road network, Google Maps, looking for terrain kind of things. Like, hey, if I go here, it looks like maybe it's clear. If I've never been there before, I can learn, or I can find a spot that's open. So we use, all that stuff. All the tools we can use, we use.
So I want to just touch on the base.
Yeah.
Like, so when you're at home and you kind of sense or see something's about to happen and you can't go out, what does that do to you internally?
Oh, it's very hard. For the most part, I do this for a living, so I can go out most of the time. It's the times where, like tomorrow night, my kid has a soccer game. I really want to go because I'm going to miss the Saturday morning one, and I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow night. It doesn't look that good. However, if it was something like a few days ago, the 25th, we just had epic day of the last decade of a monster dust storm hitting Phoenix, and it was insane. It was great. And if that kind of day was happening tomorrow night, I'd be like, I'm sorry, I love you, but this is what Daddy does for a living, and I got to go do that. So, but I have definitely missed stuff, and it's a whole topic about FOMO and mental health and all that kind of social media that I could go on and on about. But that kind of thing is very tough. Now, the longer I've been doing it, the FOMO fades a little bit. Sometimes if I know if I had missed 3 days ago, I would be severely in the dumps. Like it would be, we were chasing this storm and there was this wall of dust coming up, and we were way south of Phoenix. And at this point we're driving, speed limit 75, and this storm is hauling, and we're not going directly away from it. We're kind of going at this northwest angle. So as we're going that way, it's kind of closing in. And there was a point where I was like, I don't know if we're going to beat this thing to this north turn on the freeway. And I had a reporter and a video person with me. And I was like, man, if we get stuck in this and we can't get out, it's gonna, and then if I had seen what happened, it would have been devastating. Like I know I would have been in a bad place. So, but for the most part, it takes those kind of legendary days to really get me down now. Otherwise, I'm like, I missed some really great lightning, and I'm like, whatever. I've got so much lightning. I never get tired of chasing it, but if I miss it, I'm like, well, whatever. I'll get it the next time. So that's pretty tough, though.
Well, I like what you said about, especially this one that just happened, and you shared the video with me. So take me through, how did you know that this was going to develop into a dust storm?
Well, it's the models. We use a bunch of different models. There's one called the HRRR, and it had for about 36 hours before kind of had this whole setup happening, and that model run will come out every hour. Some models come out every 6 or every 12, but this is it means high refresh or high resolution rapid refresh. And so it comes out all the time. So when every run is basically saying the same thing for like 24 to 36 hours, you're like, it's probably going to happen. Like that's about as guaranteed as you're going to get. And it looked really good. And then I can look at, you look at different things. You don't just look at that there's going to be storms and this is what the radar might look like, but you look at like the 10-meter wind speeds, and then that shows you what it thinks the winds are going to do. Well, the winds at every model run showed a big wave moving towards Phoenix, which means 10-meter winds, 30-meter winds, or 30 feet of winds are going to be pushing super strong towards Phoenix. That means it goes across Picacho Peak, Eloy, Casa Grande, Maricopa, where it's just dust. I mean, farms that aren't being taken care of, drought, all this stuff. If it's crossing there with any kind of wind speed, there's going to be a dust storm. You don't know if it's going to be epic. But when that day started unfolding and we were down there and suddenly we were being surrounded by storms, and then we saw this like a shelf cloud, which is rare out here too. That's kind of structure that you see on the plains. We saw a shelf cloud and dust underneath it and these monster storms everywhere. I'm like, man, this could be a top tier kind of day. And as we raced north, it just kept coming and it was hauling. Like I said, since we couldn't get almost in front of it, that's when it's something special, because I never have a hard time really staying in front of these things because they're not going that fast. And then every time it was moving north, there were storms and like heavy downpours right behind it. And so that's also kind of rare out here, because sometimes we'll get the dust that'll hit Phoenix, but there won't be a lot of rain behind it. Because generally, a wall of dust is just air that's been pushed out from all these storms, and they push out like a gust of air, a wave, and that wave will help create lift and create more storms. It's kind of like if you took your hand and ran it underneath just underneath the surface of the water, and you watch how the water will like rise up over your hand. That's basically creating this artificial lift. And so sometimes, a lot of the times, Phoenix we'll get a bunch of dust coming in and the storms die out and we get no rain and it just sucks. But that day, the rain was not only right behind it, but sometimes in front of the dust. And when it hit Phoenix, we were on this parking garage, and within 10 minutes, like 10 or 15 minutes, the dust cleared out and it was like a hurricane behind it, like of rain. I mean, not like that, but just it came in with like force, and tree branches were, getting ripped off. The part of the, I think Terminal 4 of Sky Harbor, the roof part of it got ripped off. So it was pretty good. I mean, and so it was kind of a rare event, and I don't always believe that's going to happen, because usually storms die a lot before they come to Phoenix. It's a big heat island and all this stuff. So, but the models predicted it, and when you're out there in it, you read what's going on, you go, hey, this is looking better than even the model said, and that's what it turned out to be. So it was amazing.
The cool thing about that footage also is like you had that angle at the airport, which was phenomenal. Like, in your decision making to get that specific, did you have to get clearance, or I guess you said
no?
Was that a parking deck?
Yeah, it goes up to like 8 or 9 stories. Ooh, and they don't care. I shot lightning there literally, I think 14 hours before that at 3 a.m. I was shooting lightning there. Other employees there, they come out, it was shooting. But it was interesting though, because the airport is kind of in the central part of town for the most part. The wall of dust, we're coming in from south part of Phoenix headed north to try to find where are we going to shoot this thing. And you're trying to gauge by looking at this wall of dust, which way is it going? I'm looking at the radar to see the wind, because it can show you what the surface winds are doing, but a lot of it looked like it was almost pushing directly north, which would mean it might skirt away from the airport and go towards Tempe. And that's happened to me a few years ago, back in 2018. I was doing the same thing, and I'm looking, and I'm like, you know what? This thing looks like it's not only is it going north in the town, it might be going a little northeast. So I skipped downtown and went east to Tempe, got in front of Tempe Town Lake. Mill Avenue is really cool, and the dust kind of came over there. So that day I made the right decision. So 3 days ago, it was kind of like the same thing, I felt like. But then, so we're going up this short little stretch of freeway that's 2 or 3 miles. And I had to decide if I'm going to go right to Tempe or left to the airport that's right there. And two people with me thought maybe it looked a little better to the east. And then at one last minute, I was able to kind of get a glance back, and I could see all this density and folds that looked like, in my head, that I was moving a little northwest. And I'm like, we're just going to the airport. It's right here. It's quick. We will be able to see it. If it hits us, it does. If not, I think we'll have a view to the east anyway, so we can see it rolling by. And oh my God, if I hadn't have gone there and I had, in that split decision, had decided to go to Tempe, it still might have been really cool, but man, the shots from the airport. My big thing is I love height. I love being up. Like if I'm shooting lightning, I want to be high. I want to see where it lands. So that height was incredible. So, I just, the whole day, just thank God I was where I was supposed to be. And a lot of that, you know, I look back later and I can really get in my head going, oh my God, thank God I caught up. Think of what would have, and I always start thinking about what could have happened if I had done the wrong thing instead of just being happy that I did the right thing.
Isn't it crazy like how our brains go? Like,
yeah,
it's like, I got it, but all these other things kind of float into there.
Yep.
So do you mind if we go ahead and watch it on here? I just want to get like some of your emotions or kind of like, all right, so let me give this a shot.
So good.
Oh.
There we go. The fun part of this is the airplane's taking off.
Yeah.
I thought it was interesting because the last one of the last airplanes, I actually thought it taxied and took right off, but I saw that it turned back to face, and then I realized, you know, I think maybe they were like, hey, you got to turn and face into this wind and not be caught sideways. But there was another plane there that was side. Anyway, I was wondering if there was a reason for that, but the other planes taken off before. I was imagining what it was like to be on that plane and being like the pilot going, we're trying to get out of here. There's a tsunami of dust coming. And just
that
looking
can't be
out
good
and
for the
seeing this
engines.
wall. No, it can't. So anyway, that was special. And it was fun. You know, I had just the chance. There's a local reporter for the Arizona Republic named Haley Evans, and she's got a master's in journalism and all this stuff. And she'd wanted to do a profile piece on Storm Chaser, and she's an environmental like writer and all this stuff. And so the night before at 10 o'clock, she was like, hey, tomorrow's supposed to be really good. Maybe we can do it now because we've been waiting a few months. And so she came out, videographer so just having them along to capture me doing my thing on the day of all days kind of thing. And then getting to this parking garage with them, but there's people everywhere, and there's multiple Storm Chasers I know, of course, that are good friends that are there. One of them from out of, you know, he lives in Colorado, and he's there, and we do a goofy selfie. We like hug because all of us are so euphoric and so crazy at that moment. It's just, we were just sharing it. You know, I see my buddy who lives in Phoenix, and he's right there. I'm like, hey, Chris. And he's like, hey, Mike, what's up? We haven't seen each other all year, but we just see each other in the same spot. It's not like, hey, you're here. What the heck? How's it going? How's the fam? You know, it's just like, hey, dude, what's up? Like, of course we're both here. Like, we just expect it kind of thing. So it was great. It was really, really fun.
When you're in that mood, or like when you're in the catching thing, you know, for me, when I do that, when I'm out doing astrophotography, it's like, I can't, like, if I see a friend, like kind of like you're saying, it's just like, hey, how's it going? You know, I'm so focused on getting everything up and in the moment. So that's interesting that you said that. What are the things looking at that? It blows me away. So technically, like, I know you shoot with a Canon R5.
Yeah, that's one camera. Those two were both shot with 5 DSRs. They're a little older, but they're 50 megapixels, and they do really, really well.
Which one was that? The Canon 5D?
The Canon 5D SR.
SR. Never.
Yeah, they're kind of not rare, but they never were super popular. I think you get a used one now. I got a used one from a guy for $500 that he barely used it. But they were their 50 megapixel version that came out like 9 something years ago. You couple that with a couple of their L lenses and the pixel resolution, the time lapse. When I do those videos, it's taking stills. So at 50 megapixels, compiling it into a video, it's over 8K resolution. So they're amazing. And the mirrorless are great. The resolution's great, but guess what? They got dust spots so much. And these old DSLRs, they have them, but not that many. And I never have issues. So, I've been stuck in the past, but it's working for me that I'm still using these older cameras, and it's great.
So that was the other thing I saw right at the end, that dust hit the lens.
Yeah.
How often does that happen? Not just with the dust, but also, do you have any times when your equipment gets damaged because of the storms that you chase?
Yeah, I've had stuff fall over, break. Actually, it's really funny. The one time I had a lens fall over and just snap in half off the tripod was when someone was there, and I got distracted talking while there's storms going on. I'm not paying attention to my gear, which is why I don't like to be around people when I'm chasing. I really like to chase solo. But yeah, I mean, the dust hitting the lens, I've had, I took a 50 millimeter in once to get fixed, and they're like, man, Mike, there's just so much dust inside this. If you take the whole thing apart, it's going to cost more to fix it than it is to get a new one or something. And that's just when you do this for a living and as a business, you just deal with stuff like that. The thing is because I actually had 2 people with me, I was way more careful leading up to it. So I only posted those 2 time-lapse clips where the dust hits the camera. Before that, we stopped at like 3 other places to time-lapse it all the way down from like Casa Grande up to Phoenix. So I have some really good time-lapse footage, but when you are posting a time-lapse of a wall of dust coming at the camera and it stops short, there's a little bit of suckiness there where you're like, dang it, finish. Like, hit the camera. I want that whole thing to happen. And I realized that back in 2011, because I stopped the big one that I was shooting before it hit. And I had multiple people say, man, I wish you would have kept recording. And I was like, dude, it was my first, it was a 5D Mark II or something, like a really expensive for me back then camera. And I had this wall of dust was so nasty. I had no idea if it would just ruin my only camera. And so I packed up before it hit. But now I'm like, I know it won't, and I want the dust to hit the camera. But on the 25th, the 3 other stops, because I had people with me and I didn't necessarily want them to see what a freak. I mean, I was already like doing some Formula One driving to stay in front of that thing and get into town. I didn't want them to see what I really would do when I would let the dust hit me and the visibility drops and I still plow through it to get back out safely, because I've never, crashed or anything. I know what I'm doing, but so I would cut it off. So at the airport, that was our last stop. And I'm like, this time it's going to hit the camera because I need this one to actually be the one. And so we let that one overtake us. So it was cool.
That's so cool, man. Gosh. So what is your favorite lens to use as far as range or focal length?
Well, basically for time lapse, I'm using the Canon 11 to 24 millimeter wide on one body. That's generally will be enough. Sometimes, when you're chasing supercells and even like that big wall of dust, like sometimes you feel like it's not wide enough, but and then the other one, I'll use a 50. Sometimes I switch to like a 135. Occasionally I might do a 35 if I feel like but I like to, when I'm time lapsing, I want a wide one to get the whole thing. And I like the 50 to like pick out a section that I think is important. So if there's a big wide supercell and there's a tornado underneath it, I'm getting the whole structure and the tornado might look small, whereas I'd put the 50 on it or maybe a different lens and get really close. With the R5 that I added a few years back, I also got the 100 to 500 zoom for that, which I never thought I would really want that, but because it's always so shaky when in the wind and stuff. But I started using that to really get close to any tornadoes I've seen. and it has been like amazing for that. Now it bounces around, but fixing it in Premiere Pro and After Effects with warp stabilization really helps. So I would say, I mean, for the most part, I guess my favorite is the wide, because I like to just get the whole wide thing, and that's the one I'll generally be shooting with. But I like capturing all the different angles on it and the different perspective. I mean, I could be shooting wide here and then take my other one with a 135 and shoot some exploding cloud tops in the other direction. You know, I'm trying to see if I can maximize what I'm shooting, and that's tough too, because you see multiple things you want to shoot, and I have 3 cameras, and sometimes it's still not good enough, or I moved the camera when I shouldn't have and gave up on a time lapse that I'm like, I've been shooting this time lapse and it's cool, but oh my God, something just happened here. I'm gonna pan, and then I don't get enough frames, and then I look back and go, oh, I should have finished that one. And that just happened on the 25th, because I had the 50 on this section of dust coming in, and it had the interstate kind of small. You could see the cars zipping by on the interstate, and it's marching right towards it. I'm like, God bless it. Why didn't I just leave it there so that I could get the dust coming over the cars? But I didn't really see that in the moment. I saw it later. Sure. But to the left, the dust wall like kind of exploded to this mountain, and I'm like, oh my Lord, I gotta make sure I have that. Like, I can't not time lapse that. And I didn't know what the why. Anyway, it's just time lapsing is a tough discipline, and a lot of people will try it and then give up after a while because they realize the effort it takes and the discipline to sit tight and miss other things to be able to get the shot. It's tough.
And I think what you're saying right there, it's also about knowing where to be and to be kind of patient. Yes. To kind of like understand, like, I don't know where to go. And a lot of times I make that mistake with astrophotography. I'll set up, start it going, and then I'm like, I'm like, just move it a little, because it's so. I totally get that. I want to go back to your equipment for a second. And I love how you monetize your stuff. Like, you have a t-shirt shop.
I'm wearing one.
That's awesome. I'm thinking of ways of doing that. I told I just got married, and my stepdaughter, she says some of the weirdest things. She's 8 years old, and I'm like,
skibbity.
We need to make
all this stuff. Yeah,
we need to make t-shirts out of your sayings and then just put it up there. She was singing a song about hugging feet, and I'm like, all right, that's a t-shirt.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask about like your equipment. Do you have any sponsors with like, lens fixing or anything about like dust removal?
No, I don't. The only real sponsors I have are Think Tank, who sent me my last 2 camera bags, and I owe them some photos. It's really hard in the moment to be shooting a dust storm and stuff and go, I should take this bag out and throw it out in front of this haboob and take a picture of it. But pretty much them. I mean, I have a couple that I run a photo contest called the Storm Photos of the Year on stormphotocontest.com. And so we've got some, sponsors there that donate prizes and things like that. But for the most part, I've always tried to become like a Canon explorer. I love Canon. I mean, I've been with them since the beginning, and I've tried to become an explorer of light, because I'm like, I don't think anybody is doing what I do with their cameras anywhere, at least to this extent. And that's never worked out. And part of me is like, well, that keeps me untethered, and I can do what I want with whatever gear I want. So there's that. But yeah, I think mostly Think Tank, and I every now and then I get something, like my dash cam. We got that for free in exchange for some videos of using it, and sent them some footage and just different things like that. But I mostly earn a living off of licensing footage, workshops, print sales, the t-shirts. That's just every now and then. I mean, for a little while it'll go crazy, and then I won't sell anything for months, because I don't know how to push it all. I don't know. I'm trying right now to get back into YouTube. I mean, I post stuff, but I'll go like 9 months without posting anything, because I really like the high quality stuff. I've never wanted to be like, I never want to be like, here's all my reels and my shorts, and here's me acting like an idiot. I don't want to do that. But at the same time, I have so much content for the last 15 years that could just go on there and keep the views going and start making revenue. So like the last couple weeks, trying to do that on Instagram, trying to do on YouTube, even TikTok. Of course, Tuesday really helped because I had a couple of TikTok got like 1.5 million on my reel there, and Instagram is like 7 million, which I've never had anything over probably 60,000. So I'm trying to.
You
so
have the
just,
content. You definitely have.
Well,
the content.
that was. I mean, that also was breaking news. Big dust storm hits Phoenix.
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about it. So then it's going to be. I knew it'd go viral pretty easily, but I didn't know. Maybe it would go that much. But so there's just sponsors and all that stuff is tough. I could do that, but then you're beholden to a lot of sponsors. What you have to do. So for me, it's just trying to think of all these different ways to monetize and now I'm partnering with a guy soon who makes lightning triggers that I've been using forever that you put on your camera that, sense lightning, and going to partner up with him and join the business and move it forward, hopefully in a good, and that I'm hoping is like another great way to kind of find some security, moving forward. So it's, freelance kind of stuff. I'm blown away constantly and blessed that I get to do this at all, and I'm terrified all the time, especially the last year or two. AI's come out. There's a lot of stuff that has caused the business to be a little bit slower on the licensing front, and I shoot weddings on the side too, and that wasn't really on the side, it was like half the year kind of thing, and those have slowed way down too for me. So I get terrified half the time that I'm going to have to get a job and I don't know how I'm going to make all this work, and so it's a lot.
Well, I totally get that. Fortunately, I've been able to be employed, but it's hard because I, like you, have a finite skill set where a documentary background. So when I'm interviewing, it's kind of like, marketing wise, they want the TikTok, they want Instagram, kind of like the Reels kind of thing, which is a talent by its own. And like you, I like, if I do something for Instagram or TikTok, it needs to be fresh. It needs to look good. It can't just be throw it together, and especially when you're working with a company. So I have a hard time and they have a hard time working with me, but I'm very fortunate. I've found somebody who's just like, oh, okay, like use your documentary skills to tell stories about people. I'm like, yes, thank you.
Yeah, you got to find the right niche that will allow you to use those skills and that's what I feel like. That's what I like waiting. I'm like, what would I do? How would I use this as like getting a job, like a real job someday? How could I turn it into something? So that I'm glad you found that out, because figure that out, because it's tough. And I know that's not always easy either, but it's,
But if I came across if you came and sent me an application and I saw your reel, I'd be like, I'd hire you in a heartbeat because of the quality that you put out and everything that you put into it. Now, the other question, I'm sure people ask the same thing about me, would he be engaged the entire time? And I'm like, well, if he wants work, he needs money as a family, yes, he will be. Yes. And then let's try to do some really cool things that, you find interesting. So you answered the wedding thing, which is, I'm glad you have that as well. Let's dive into show and tell. Go through your photos and kind of respond to these. So I started doing astrophotography back in 2018, and I took a trip. I was living in Charleston, South Carolina at the time, and I took a trip for my birthday to go out to Colorado, and I had a Canon 60 6. It's so old. I had a camera, Canon 6D, that and with a kind of old Sigma lens that was like an 18-200. So I didn't know anything about lenses or cameras at the time. So I went out there and I was just like, I want to shoot the stars. And so I just pointed the camera up at the sky and I clicked, and I was like, oh, it's blurry. So I was like, I need the exposure to go, about 5 seconds. So I opened it up, put my wallet under to stabilize it, and then pointed at the sky. And then I took this picture and I was just like, whoa. And then hopefully I'm going the right way. Yeah. And then this one, I took the next one. I was just like, oh my God, it looks amazing. And the reason I tell the story, I look back at this and just laugh, because the excitement I got from that first photo was like, I could do this. This is amazing.
Yep.
But I had no idea what I was doing. So during the pandemic, I think it was like 2021, I went up to Mount Shasta in California. I have a family that lived there for years. And so I was very comfortable with it. And then I learned a lot, studied a lot. And then this is what I took of Mount Shasta.
Ooh, yes. You got better.
Yeah. And the reason why I show you is because of what you did in your photography and everything that you've learned through the years, and you kept at it, which is awesome. Yeah. The hard part for me is going out when the dark skies are calling, because I live in Santa Clara, so I'm about like 3 hours away from any dark skies.
Anywhere. Yeah.
Anywhere. And then you have then you have to deal with weather and the moon, all those other things, that the variables that come with it. So I understand when you're talking about, like, something happening where you can't get those things. It's like,
it's a great photo, by the way. I love it. That's really pretty with the cloud. Looks like there's some low clouds around there with the peaks pointing out. It's great.
Yeah, thank you. That was with a Canon 5D. Or no,
nice.
Canon 5D Mark IV. It was the Mark IV.
Oh yeah. That's what I still got one of those, two of those. But...
I love that camera.
Well, I'm the same, dude. I have embarrassing photos of like HDR photos in like 2009, 2010 that I started. I remember selling one of them many times because people were fascinated, and I am like horrified by it now. So, right there with you.
So let's go back to all your stuff. So, all right. So take me through this picture and why'd you?
Yeah,
send
some of these are newer, and so I sent this one because it just, the reaction it got online was, I already sold a print to it.
Oh, nice.
People were just, sometimes I see it and I'm like, hey, I know that I framed this up really well. I found the spot. I got a lightning bolt back there. The part that I know is that when I was pulling up, there was a bolt that struck out of like the tops of those clouds right there and landed closer. And I know it would have made the photo like 1,000 times better in my mind. However, other people, people have a different view on things. So they see it and they see the color, they see the cactus, they see the orange tones, and then the lightning is just kind of like an added element. It doesn't really, it's there. And so the reaction was just great. And so these are the ones, I included this one because, like I said earlier, I like to be up high. I like to see where bolts land. I like clear areas. I like the storms to be the star of the show, the star of the photo. I don't get into the landscape as much, but I've been trying because people love that stuff. And when I see this photo, I'm like, yeah, I love it. I can see why they love it, And so, so this was really cool because this was literally half of what I do. Most of the time, I feel like, is finding compositions on the fly. It's just the nature of what I do. I enjoy it. It's also incredibly frustrating. So this was just, I saw the storm. I saw a dirt road, turned down it, and all of a sudden these two cactus were there. I pull over. I'm like, all right, here we go. And then I set up as fast as possible. Said hi to this dead, decaying cow next to me on the road. It was like, what's up, dude? And I'm like, I'm going to get this photo, crop him out. And then we posted it, and people went nuts over it. So that was fulfilling because it was a lot of work to get that. And up until that point that day, I really hadn't gotten anything. So I like this kind of stuff because I'm trying really hard to get more compositions like this. People might feel more inclined to hang this in their house than maybe like this giant monster bolt behind my head that my wife let us put up. But sometimes
she let us.
Yeah. This one is a little more sellable sometimes in my eyes. So
that's so cool. All right, let's go to the next one. Oh, that's so gorgeous, man.
Yeah, this was another lucky day that I actually had a documentary crew with me. This is at Eastern New Mexico, Texas border, Denver City. And I had this crew with me that was filming a documentary about water and Texas and drought and farmers and all that stuff. And so we went out chasing, and this was just probably the best structure. I think this is 2018, 2019, but some of the best structure I have ever seen on a little tiny storm where you can it looks like an ice cream cone or like a Dairy Queen ice cream, like twisting at the top is just Got a whole time lapse of it. I was just in heaven, you know, just absolutely freaking out.
It's incredible.
This is the Booker storm that was in. So the big thing about this is that I think it was this part of it was in the background of a scene in Thor 2, the Dark World. So when Loki dies in the movie, and it's this big dramatic moment, and Thor's like holding his head on the ground, and Natalie Portman's looking at him, and then the music gets super dramatic, and they pan back, and you see my time lapse spinning like the top half of the whole screen. It was that's probably my favorite licensing deal ever, and that happened. You know, I shot this in June, and that movie came out in November that year in 2013, and I didn't know what they were going to do with it or how they were going to use it. I know that they paid me for it, and then went to the theater with a bunch of friends just to go, where is it going to show up? I have no idea.
Oh my God.
But when it happened, my buddies looked at it, I was like, is that it? I'm like, that's it. That's it. And we were freaking out. It was great.
That must have been huge for you. I read that you're a huge Marvel fan.
Oh yeah. I've got people started, a few people would see me and go, hey, Thor, or whatever. After that, a friend do that. But that was, I got interviewed by the local news a couple of times that week when it came out, and it was massive. It's one of those things where people say, never do anything for credit as a photographer because you don't get paid for credit. It never works out. Well, having your name in the credits of a Marvel movie is great. I'm just massive from the very beginning. I do wish it had been in Thor Ragnarok, not a Dark World, because that one.
That was the next question I was going to ask.
Oh, that one was one of my favorite ones of all time. I've never laughed so hard, especially the scene where there is a big looking mean cloud that's called the Devil's Anus. And it looks like a supercell. And I'm like, why didn't they ask me to license them something for that? That would have been insane. But yeah, no, that was a really big deal. And I love all that stuff. And now my kids, my little boy loves superheroes stuff, and we're going to see all the Marvel movies, and it's been really fun.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's incredible.
Yeah, this is one of my favorites. This is just a couple of years ago, like one of the last shots I took of the season. And I actually have this on 3 cameras, one wide. This was the 50, and then I have it at 135, where I think I might have just missed the left bolt, but got all the other 4 in there. Literally just the tops of the mountains aimed at the right place. And I had no idea, because I was shooting a little bit, the storms were a little further away, and then all of a sudden this exploded in front of me, and I was looking at it, and I still vividly remember this moment. It was like, it felt like Thor, like it was like, and oh my God. And for me, like I said, this is up high, seeing where lightning lands. It's like what I try. And if all those bolts had landed behind the mountain, it probably still would be a cool shot, but seeing where it lands just changes everything.
So I love what you said, because that was a question I wanted to ask earlier was, I love how you have 3 cameras set up, one wide to catch everything.
Yeah.
And then for you to kind of like explore with a 135 or a 50 to get those fine details. And I saw one of your time lapses, just like the clouds kind of forming, very calming, and it wasn't your typical monsoon kind of coming through. Like, how often do you do that? Do you do that every time you set up?
When I see the moment, it's hard because sometimes I'm driving to get to a storm, and if I stop to shoot beautiful clouds developing, then I'm going to miss the actual storms that I'm driving for. So if I see something that's like, oh my gosh, it's sunset and the color's epic and the updraft is going now, then I really got to stop and shoot this. But it's more of, I think the other times it's more if I stop to shoot a scene and I can also shoot these cloud tops building, I'll kind of do that. Or if it's just, there's not much happening, I'll do that on this moment. But they have to be a little bit more special, and probably people are like, well, how do you know what's special with clouds building? They all look the same to me. Well, they don't, and some of them could be a little stronger looking. Some of them could be pretty fluffy and sad. The ones that look like they're an erupting volcano, I love them. And then when they turn, one of my latest Vorticity that came out, I've got these just billowing clouds that are all orange from the sun setting, and I'll stop to shoot that stuff. It's gorgeous to me.
And with lightning, how scared are you about like your safety?
Um, I'll get pretty freaked. I think if it's close and I'm, you know, out there, I don't know if my fear is getting a little less than it used to be.
Hmm.
I've had lightning land within 30, 40 feet of me multiple times, and um, it's frightening. My favorite one, I think, I don't remember if I even had the photo. If I sent it to you, I probably didn't. But I was on a dry lake bed in southern Arizona, and it's just like it's called it's a playa, like the racetrack playa in Death Valley. So I'm out in the middle of it, nothing around me for miles except for me and my 3 tripods, and there's a storm blowing up close to me, but it started moving a little bit away, and that's when it starts dropping the rain. And I'm like, oh my God, this is perfect. It's moving away. And then a bolt comes out of it and strikes behind me by probably less than 100 feet, maybe 50 feet. I don't know. It was close. And oh my gosh, I was like, what am I doing? I am the tallest thing anywhere. And for
And
miles
with a metal
right now.
tripod.
With 3 metal tripods in a truck and myself. And so I mean I still like I jumped in the back of the truck, and then I jumped out and aimed my cameras again to where the storm was moving and jumped back in, and I just sat there like this, like, oh my God. And then I got like 2 more killer strikes out of it, and it was worth it. But I will get a little freaked, and if I'm really close, you know, I sit in the car safely and try not to be. I'll jump out if I see a bolt strike. Then I jump out, reposition the camera, jump back in before it flashes again. In my mind, I think I'll be safe if I can wait till there's a flash, and that means I got a couple seconds to jump back out before it happens again. But it's still probably. I told people like years ago. I go, if you had to tell me, put a gun to my head, pick one subject to shoot the rest of your life, it'd probably be lightning. I'd probably just go with that.
Wow,
It's
that's
tough.
awesome.
I love everything.
Yeah.
I would really kill me if I couldn't shoot dust storms anymore. But lightning is, you know, there's so much that you can't repeat with it. No one can ever get this shot again unless they use AI to come up with it or something. But I can go to the Grand Canyon, or Eiffel Tower, or something, and shoot that same shot that anyone else has shot, and maybe, you know, different sky and different kind of thing like that. But lightning is always different, and it's great.
That's ridiculous,
This is just,
Mike.
yeah, this is ridiculous. This is just like, what's really funny is I think back to this storm. It looks amazing, but I think this was actually the towards the end of its life where it was dying. So everything that was suspended just started collapsing in these columns. And I mean, this was in Texas, and it was north of Midland, and it was June 1st. Yeah, I think that's the date up there, June 1st. What's fascinating is June 1st is like the heart of tornado chasing season. It's like right smack in the middle for the most part. And we had all busted in New Mexico already that day. We were chased out there. It was sucky. And then I'm like, hey, let's drive back to Lubbock, get a hotel, and stay for the next night or for the next day. And on our way, there's still a couple storms up. And I'm like, I go, hey, that storm is not on the way, but dude, it's still a supercell. It's moving south. We should just go get it, because I don't know when to stop. So we just drove out, and we get on this storm. And first off, there's no other chasers on it, which for middle of June, June 1st, in Texas Panhandle, or West Texas, no one being on this storm is unbelievable. Like, the odds are so low because there's so many people out there.
Yeah.
So that we're there, so we're the only ones on it, and we drive up to it. It was really, really cool. But then we're sitting there. We jumped a barbed wire fence. I think I might have ripped my shorts just trying to get through this in a panic, and set up. And then we just see these columns start dumping, and then the sky is pink behind it. And oh my God, I think me and my buddy Brett, we went live on Instagram, and we had 2 workshop people with us. Brett was helping me at the time with tours, and we were just freaking out. The whole time lapse of this is a sucky one where I do wish, in a way, I had hung in there more, because it does cut out almost right when the rain hits the lens, and we bail. But there was like big hail in there, like golf balls, and maybe bigger, and so you can't really sit out there with your gear and something like that. But watching the whole time lapse of this, and this is just the photo, the time lapse of it is way further away, and it just comes, and then all of a sudden it just, and it's Oh, it's one of my favorites. And I've never seen anything like that, and I've never seen anything since.
I can't imagine. Everything is so unique and different. I mean, we're watching all your videos, your time lapse, like your compilations, especially. Everything is so different from each other. It's incredible.
Yep.
So, what is like the actual distance from this cell for you?
Oh, I mean, this is like a mile, maybe.
Okay.
Mile, because it's like with anything when you're shooting a wide angle lens, like at 11 millimeters, everything just feels further away. I like to compare it to if you've ever seen shots of Horseshoe Bend where they have the whole thing in one shot. Mm-hmm. And then you stand there and you're like, holy crap, this place is huge. You could land like 2 airplanes on that middle section of Horseshoe Bend. But in photos, it feels really small. And it feels like kind of far away in some ways. And these kind of things are the same, where my lens is so wide that the very top of this, where my watermark is probably close to directly overhead because that's how wide I am. And so it feels like, it's out there, we're good. But it's like, no, it's right there coming. And that's why within, minutes of this, we had to bail because it was starting to rain already. So
I have some more questions about others, but I love this.
There's my shirt too. I love it.
That's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, this was just, this became a signature thing I did. I don't remember seeing it from anybody because people would do maybe selfies with their phones or they would have or whatever, but I would use my camera and do the wide angle lens and then try to look back at the storm like I'm scared. And I would only do this for peak top tier events kind of thing, and I don't do it sometimes I go a year or two and don't even think like it's. But I did it on Tuesday with the dust storm, and I don't know if I sent that to you, but I've been changing my profile picture because it was an epic day. It was worth it. So this day was, I mean, the moment this storm went up and it started having structure, it was barely moving, like 5-10 miles an hour. It dropped a skinny tornado to start. And we were right there to watch this whole tornado develop, whole life cycle. It didn't last very long, but we saw the whole thing. And then it just became this mothership like this for like 3 more hours all the way into the night. And it was one of those chases where you're just there's no rain. You don't see it. Like on the right is where the rain should be. And sometimes it's really heavy. This storm barely had any rain, and people could, from almost any direction, you could look at it and it looked like a circular flying mothership, and just, God, it was awesome.
It's incredible.
Oh, this is, I don't do this very often, but this is a stack of, probably, I can't even remember, 20, 30 shots. I don't have any idea. It could be a lot more or a lot less. But this was just a night in Tucson back in 2023 where we stood on a hill at a workshop, and I let my, I think this was probably 100 millimeter or 135 or something. I just let it go, and all these bolts happened, I think, within like 12 minutes, 15 minutes. It was just nonstop, and I'm like, I'm going to stack the crap out of this because it's insane. And I did sell a few prints of this, but this was Tucson. And just, it's one of those things where, storm chasing, I think when people go like, Mike gets all this, all these images, it doesn't look like it's, that hard. Every time he goes out, he gets something good. Well, it's like, I have to go out a lot. I've had to chase, I don't know how many dust storms since like 2018 was the last time I saw a good one to get the thing I saw on Tuesday.
Oh, wow.
You have to chase, I mean, you have to, sometimes, they're fine, but that was like epic level, top tier kind of stuff. Whereas, and so this night is a top tier lightning event by Tucson, where if you're in the right place, suddenly the lightning goes off for like 15 minutes, an hour. And this was just a short span where it went nuts, but there was lightning before and some lightning after. And if you're not there for it, you're just going to miss it. And so it takes all this effort and work to get all this stuff. It's a lot. This was awesome.
So what is your go-to, I guess, interval? I can't even say
interval for time lapsing.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, well, I mean, it depends. It depends on what it is. I mean, stuff like this is nighttime. You're just doing long exposures over and over. The other thing is the dust storm a couple of days ago, everything is every second. When
Okay.
you don't think you have a lot of time, you're time lapsing every second. Now, I have some tornado time lapses in my Vorticity 6 film that are closer, like zoomed in shots where with my R5. And so I'm using my R5 exclusively. Like if there's a tornado, you get the external cable release, and there's the CF Express or CF Fast card that's in it. If you lock your cable release up to take a picture and you're in low speed continuous, high speed continuous, it'll just keep taking shot after shot, like basically 3 shots a second without having any buffering problems where it starts backing up. It'll just go. So if I'm on a tornado, I'll use that because I can get basically 3 times as many frames as I can with my older cameras that I can only do 1 a second. And so for every second that I'm time lapsing with my 5DSR, I might get 3 to 4 frames with my R5. So by the end of I might only have like 5 minutes with the tornado, but I get, instead of 300 frames, I get 900 frames, which means it's going to last longer. There's more like resolution. Maybe I might not miss a lightning bolt that happens or debris flying or something. So I don't go that fast unless it's something like that. But the rest is 1 second. And then if I know I'm going to be there half an hour, like time lapsing a storm coming at me, then I drop it, every 3, every 4. Just depends.
Okay.
When you go every second, you have more of a chance to catch lightning. So then I want to just shoot every second, but then I end up with like 1,800 frames and I wish I didn't. So it's a battle.
That's the other thing is like, oh, that's my stuff. All right. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing. That was awesome. One of the other things is how do you, exposure wise, like when it's dark and you have these really bright spots in the same image that's kind of cut with the clouds coming down, the storm coming down, how do you manage to make it look so damn good? I mean, it must be editing, or do you have kind of like a system down?
You mean like city lights and stuff that are really bright?
Not city lights, more of like when you're out shooting storms and it's like dark on one side and bright on the other side.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah, the background. It takes a little bit of editing to, I try not to overexpose. So if I'm time lapsing something that's really bright, either if it's the sun, then I don't really care if I blow it out because I'm like, I'm never going to get that right.
Right.
If it's just kind of like the left side of a storm and it's the background blue sky and it's really bright, I try to just get it to the borderline of blowing out the highlights, but just back. And then in post, even those 5DSRs, they're older. But if I shoot at ISO 100 and bring up the exposure, the noise isn't horrible. I find it fine. Use a little noise reduction. And the way you edit, these kind of things, you can use the gradients and filters to drop like the left side exposure down and bring up the whole thing, and it kind of keeps it balanced. And so in the editing process, it's where you try to keep it balanced. And for single images, it's just doing luminosity masking and trying to take my time. I'm a very big I used to be a little more about taking my time with editing. Sometimes now I'm like, well, this image, there's not much I can do with it. I don't need to take forever. Or this image is awesome. I want to take my time and get it right and do all these little nitpicky things on it. And so the big thing I always a proponent on is not doing global editing, but doing you can do it in Lightroom where you can just work on certain sections. I like Photoshop for it. It's a little easier for me. But to try to keep it balanced, try not to use highlights and shadows and get halos and just weird artifacts and stuff, but to actually go in and learn how to do it in kind of a professional way. Although there's still a point where I know other professionals that are big time landscape photographers out there that will take hours to edit. And I'm like, I get to a certain point where I'm like, you know what, I'm going to bring up Photoshop's camera raw filter. That's just a global, I'll do some contrast, do some vibrance and all this stuff at once and not deal with luminosity masking after luminosity masking. So there's certain places that I want to get to, but I want my images to look a certain way. So if I really need to do a lot of detailed editing, I'm going to do it. And if I'm like, it's a nighttime lightning shot, there's not a lot of detail. If I do too much contrast, the lightning is going to be get really bright and kind of glowy. And, I just try to do a few things to make it look good, and they don't need to be over processed.
But that's like, I get that for, individual images, but when you're doing time lapses, that's 24 pictures per second. So do you do that kind of like a sync after that, or is this one by one?
No. God, no. Ugh.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
I mean, I've had to do some things like that where I had a guy with me flying from Nat Geo, contracted by Nat Geo to fly drones for supercells, and he flew a drone into one of our scenes, and we happened to be there for a while, so I had like 1,600 frames, and I think about 900 of them I went through Lightroom individually and spot removed this drone in the distance. But yeah, no, I use Lightroom, and then I use another program called LR Time-Lapse that does a lot of syncing and ramping of exposure, and in any kind of setting that you have, it'll ramp up or down or whatever you want. So for the most part, when I'm doing a full time lapse, I just pick keyframes. It might be 4 keyframes of the whole sequence, edit those, get them to look right, bring them to LR Time-Lapse, see what it looks like, and then I'm done. But
nice.
Then it's rendering it. And then once you render it, you go, there's dust spots that I need to fix, or it's shaky, or there's a car that drove by I need to remove. Then I go back and do some more editing on it. Some of them, I have a master class that I have out there called stormphotoclass.com, and I'm going to upload a couple new tutorials from this year. But one of them was this great Holly tornado time lapse that I have, where a couple of raindrops hit the lens. I wipe a water spot off the lens, where in one frame you see part of my hand, and the next frame you see the other part of my hand. And I tried to stabilize it, and because my hand came in the way, it would warp it and make it look weird. And so I had to do just multiple different things. And then by the end of it, it looks perfect, except for maybe like a faint raindrop. But my hand is gone. Everything is stable, and it was one long time lapse instead of, for a while there, I thought I'm going to have to cut this into 2 different clips because of this mess up in the middle. And so there's just some of them, you're done like this, especially if you have no dust spots, and some of them, they take a while to get right. And I want them to look right, and I don't want to over edit it too much. I don't want to be, over saturated, all these kind of things, clarity and dehaze, they all add flicker and weird stuff. So I try to keep it pretty chill.
Now you found the right recipe, because it is it's one of the most gorgeous things, man. I turned it on, the whole family would watch it, and we're just blown away by it. One of the cool things I see, happy to, so cool. One of the things I saw too is like you have slight movement. Is that because it's 8K and you can just move it like a little bit to give it some?
Yeah. Back in the day, I tried a little bit of bringing a dolly or a rig out to do pans. And some people I saw try to do that, and I realized they didn't last very long, because it's not easy. I mean, I don't know how you do it on the fly. I mean, I'm struggling sometimes to get my camera set up fast enough to capture what I'm seeing, much less figure out how to set up a dolly or a pan, and then figure out what the speed of the storm is moving so that my panning is going the same. Like, forget it. It's not worth it. So I just add, that stuff in post, where you just slide a scene left to right to try to add that. And it's amazing what it can do, because it helps people know what to focus on. It adds a cool element. So yeah, I really like doing that.
And a few more questions. And one of them is about the music that you use. You were talking earlier that he gives away for free, but over the years, it seems like you guys collaborate together on this.
Yeah, well, that was just a guy named Kevin MacLeod back in the day. Since then, I got connected with this guy, Peter Nanasi, and believe he's in Turkey. And I've never spoken to him on the phone, and he's composed like 5 or 6 tracks at least for me. And this last one for Vorticity 6, he just killed it. I mean, we've gotten to the point where I think he knows exactly what I like, and that I need these ebbs and flows and a big ending, and he just composed it. And I think I had one thing for him where this like transition felt a little weird, a little abrupt. He went and fixed it, finished the whole thing. I'm like, dude, perfect. I don't even know what to say. And then I just dropped all the stuff. Whereas I've had other ones where we worked, he would give me a minute or two, and I'm like, okay, I want it to do this. I want it to open like kind of slow, and then boom, and then this. And then he would go and do that, and I go, okay, this next section I want this, and he would do that. This time it was much less. It was more just let him do it. So I use him a lot. So I pay him for the music to compose it all. But I also am a music bed ambassador, and so I get to use any music off music bed for free, and I try to advertise their stuff as well. And so I've used them at times where, I like to be. Sometimes I like to do these just being inspired by the music, not necessarily using my footage and then getting a track made and going, I hope that's good. I'll hear like a song. There's been a couple of just really good ones on Music Bed where it's like a haunting song, but with lyrics. And like I think one of them I used, it was like the voice was almost like Evanescence, like a haunting kind of cool vibe. And I said, hey, I'm going to make this whole film in black and white instead of color for these storms. And it's like a whole different, there's a whole different tone and feeling. And so sometimes I'll hear a song and be like, dude, this is inspiring. Now I want to grab a bunch of tracks and lay it down and see how it works. So the music is super important. I got really humbled years ago where I created like Monsoon 2 or something way back in the day, and I would enter them in film festivals back then. I don't really do that as much anymore. And there was a Sedona Film Festival. It's a pretty big one, and they were really open to lots of different kinds of films. And so I had some films make it a bunch of years in a row. And so they would show the films in a theater. And then afterwards, if the filmmaker was there, they would do a Q&A. So I did a Q&A, and everyone was always like blown away. Like one of them I did was in front of like 700 people in a giant theater before a feature film that was shot in Sedona. And it was awesome. But this one time early on, this woman asked me what the music was, and I had no answer. I'm like, I forget the track names. I go, I feel horrible right now because obviously this is half the reason it's so good. And that really, that kind of woke me up to be more. Of course, my brain sucks now, and I couldn't even tell you like certain tracks from movies or ones I've done years ago. But now I know and try to credit them and remember who they are, and because that stuff, it's just like anything. It's like Interstellar is a fantastic movie, but without Hans Zimmer's soundtrack, it's a totally different thing, and you need all of it. And so the music is just, it's huge to me. I mean, I grew up like this reporter was asking me, what do I listen to if I'm chasing? I listen to like, crazy rock and all this stuff. I'm like, I got soundtracks. I got like an epic soundtrack playlist where it's like The Dark Knight Returns and Interstellar. Nice. And the war movie that came out not too long ago, like 1912, Arrival, like just anything that's like a big epic kind of score, Marvel stuff, like, all these. And that's where I grew up loving soundtracks, and my brother and I would listen to like Star Wars and Star Trek soundtracks on cassette tapes when we were kids. And so that's always been awesome to me.
It's so cool because when I went to your About Me section and that video played, I heard the music. It was Lights in Motion. And
yeah,
to me, that's one of my favorite music is Lights in Motion. I love ambient kind of, I wouldn't even call it atmospheric.
Yes. Yeah, I think so.
And it was, so I saw that, I was like, oh, I'm vibing right away. And I've been listening to them, and I'm trying to get him on the podcast because it's a one-man show, and he does everything. And do you listen to that kind of music also when you're chasing?
I'm trying to remember which track it was because I know Lights in Motion, but I can't remember what it was on. But I don't.
I think it was called The March or something like that.
Oh, okay, that sounds right. I'm gonna go back and listen to it. I know that they're on Music Bed, I believe, because that's where I found it. So
Lights in Motion's on Music Bed? Wow.
I feel like it is. Because I don't really use music too much if it's not, because that's where I get to license it. Or perhaps someone sent this to me, but I never use music unless I pay for it. I'm not gonna like steal music. So it's probably one of those. It was probably there. So.
Well, that's the other thing is like the market is so saturated with all these music, stock music. I went with audio. I'm not a fan of it. And then I have Epidemic Sound, and it's okay, but I'm still kind of like looking for that one that has Like I just go and I find it like that, and it's been a difficult thing for me.
It is. I would recommend the Music Bed because the artists on there, there's a guy named Luke Atencio that I've used a bunch of his tracks, and they just, at least for me, it's obviously the vibe that you're going for, and everyone's kind of different with what they like for their things. But I feel like I would look around at other places too, and I'm like, man, the quality is so good here. The problem is I would feel like I would just sit there and listen to track after track after track on Music Bed and be like, this doesn't work, this doesn't work, this doesn't work. I think the last time I used Luke's stuff, I took 4 of his songs. He had like an album with like 8 or 9 songs, and they all had the same kind of feel, even though they were different tracks. And I took 4 of them and blended them together to make one long 12-minute movie song background, and they blended almost seamlessly, even though they were 4 separate songs. And that was really, I'm like, okay, if I can't find one that works, I'll take 4 and make them work, kind of thing. But that was a lot of effort to get that.
Check to see if this guy is on Music Bed, because he's on Artlist. His name is Michael Vignola. Michael Vignola.
Okay.
And the reason I bring him up is I've worked with him one-on-one, and he's a friend of mine. And his music is beautiful. And I think it would match. It's very cinematic, kind of dark a little bit, but I think it would play wonderful with some of the...
Dude, dark is good.
Yeah. It's incredible. And he's a wonderful person too. He would love, if you put it on there, he'd be like, oh man, this is incredible.
Yeah, so Lights in Motion is on Music Bed.
Oh, I need to go over there.
Yeah, I'm trying to. I'm sure I used one of theirs. Yeah, yeah, they got a bunch. I'm trying to remember. Oh, Parasite. Why does that sound familiar? Like I used that one. Well, anyway, yeah. So the other one, who was it? It was Michael
Vignola.
Michael
Vignola.
Yeah, I don't think he's on here. Yeah. Yeah, I don't see him on here.
Okay.
But Lights and Motion's on here. So
that's wonderful.
Trying to see if where my I think I have a playlist on here, and I'm trying to remember. Oh, Tony Anderson, Dexter Breton, they're all great. Trying to see where if I added or licensed the Lights and Motion one, because I'm sure I did at some point, but yeah.
So the last thing I'd like to do, this is kind of like a quick question kind of thing, just to kind of get to know a different side of you. And you don't have to go too deep into these answers. Mm-hmm. So if you could invent a new piece of storm chasing gear, no limits, what kind of crazy gadget would you create?
Transporter beam. Does it have to be realistic?
No. I mean, I guess, try one realistic
probably.
and one.
Yeah, if I could transport somewhere, that would be great, because I've always wanted to be able to be wherever I want to be. Man, I don't know. I'm trying to think. I would like I think I'd like a magical way to for dust spots to not be a thing on my cameras ever again. So whatever technology I could invent that my cameras would never have dust spots or any kind of thing, that would save me so much time.
Like an internal
no matter what
vacuum. Like an internal vacuum.
I mean, they have like a lens cleaning thing, or a sensor cleaning thing, but it never seems to work right. And then if your lenses get a little, I'm always running and gunning. I don't always like put everything back in my bag softly and put a lens cap on and a back cap on. And so then I've got dust. I don't always, it's my fault on some of that stuff, but I just wish dust spots on the sensor for the most part. I would love to figure out a way that you wouldn't have those, or an easy way to clean it every day where it's not, you don't feel like you're going to scratch your lens. Because I clean them a lot.
Yeah.
But half the time I don't want to. I'm like, oh, I got to do this and bring out the light and the cleaner and all the stuff. I feel like that would save me a lot of editing time and headache.
And you would be an instant millionaire because everybody would love it.
Yeah.
And so when you're not storm chasing, do you have a go-to comfort food or drink that fuels your creativity?
Oh gosh. I drink a lot of Diet Coke and Dr. Pepper Zero. we've been following this guy. He's a doctor on Instagram. He's a dentist, I think, and he does these funny videos about no. He's like loves Diet Coke, and and he's like, he'll be like, yeah, they say it's bad for your teeth, and he's like, how about these look great, they're all white and everything. He just like, I have like a Coke for this and then a Coke for that. It's hilarious. Like there's these just things in life where you have to at some point just go, I mean, can I not have anything fun? Can I not have anything good? Everyone tells me aspartame is going to give me cancer. Well, if I drink the sugar stuff, I'm going to get fat. And if I eat bacon, it's like, it's like at some point I just got to be fine with, with this. And Diet Coke is just, man, my wife loves it. Her parents love it. My brother, her sister, brother-in-law, that's what we get together and we got to make sure we have the Diet Coke 2-liter stocked for family vacation because we'll go through them like crazy. So I guess that's my inspiration drink, but it's pretty much what I love to drink. So
nice. And what's the funniest or weirdest storm chasing superstition or ritual you secretly follow? Or do you not have one?
I have a weird one sometimes where I don't know if it's weird, but a lot of people like to look at radar constantly to see what's going on. And so if I make a forecast where I'm like, I need to go down and chase somewhere in Arizona, it's 2 hours away and storms are already going, I will like purposely just not look at the radar till I get very close. And my friend will be like, hey, do you see what's going on down there? I go, nope. And he's like, I go, no, I don't want to see because if the storms all like start dying, I'll regret, it might make me turn around and then I don't go down there when they go back up later, or I see something that's happening that I'm missing and start wanting to drive faster and then I get a speeding ticket or something. So my whole thing is, you know what, I'm just not going to look at it till I get almost right there. And then I'll see what the situation is, which I don't know. I had never thought of it as like a superstition or something. I don't know what it is, but it's more of like a quirk. And also, I guess the other superstition for me, sort of, is I don't overhype things. Even, 3 days ago with this dust storm, I had these people with me. Everything was setting up, and I was like, they're like, today though, like, what do you give like the odds, and of seeing something good? And I'm like, I'll say 50-50. Because we could get something really good. I mean, I think we'll see blowing dust today. I don't know. Like I'm fairly certain we're going to see blowing dust. We'll get a dust storm today. Will it be epic or will it be average? I don't know. It's 50-50. And I've been with people, where I do a tour and I've got like a friend with, and they are just like, oh my gosh, the storm's going up. This is it, guys. This is it. Like this one's we're this right after this, then we're going to be chasing. I'm like, dude, well, let's just chill a little bit. Like, it might not make it, and even on that day that I'm remembering in my head, that supercell ended up dying after like an hour and a half, and we end up having to drive to this other line of storms. And I'm like, let's not overpromise. Let's just like over deliver. Let's downplay. So for me, I don't want to overhype because to me, if I do that, it's going to be a bust. So I like to sometimes be pessimistic because I always say pessimistic Mike usually gets the stuff that he wants or something. So I try to be pessimistic and never too hopeful, which sounds sad. People are like, no, you should be optimistic. And I'm like, well, not for this, not for me. No. It doesn't work for me.
No, I mean, it sounds like you're a man of experience because I understand that when you're talking about that, when you have expectations, yes, and it doesn't go through, then disappointment and sadness and all that stuff happens. But if you're like, I'm going out there, no expectations, I know it should have something, and something you catch something, then you have this like, oh, this is incredible. Yep. So that's
that's what made 3 days ago I think so great is I had expectations that we'd see something, but not that. If I had already thought like we're gonna see July 5th, 2011 again today, and we didn't, that would be like disappointment. So I like to just be pleasantly surprised and just enjoy the moment and not be too much of a hype man kind of thing. So that's probably my superstition, because I feel like if I hype it, it's not going to be good. And that doesn't make any sense because whatever's going to happen is going to happen. But in my head, that's how it works.
So I'm going to go to your kind of like your real deep, like about me stuff where you talked about breakfast for anything. So what's your favorite breakfast for dinner meal?
Oh man, probably scrambled eggs and bacon and toast and hash browns. A lot of times for the kids in the morning, I'll make them get the little smokies, little beef smokies, dice them up, fry them up with the scrambled eggs. When I'm trying to be healthy, which I'm not, this week has been crazy. I've been eating Chick-fil-A for breakfast every day, but usually try to stick to like an English muffin, one fried egg, and a little like Canadian bacon on it. And I just like breakfast. When I'm out chasing, any chance, that we get up at a good enough time where we can hit a diner up before we hit the road, we try to find really good diners in the towns that we go in. Diner food is the best. I don't know. I love it. So breakfast burrito, if we have that for dinner, like there's good breakfast burrito places, but I just try not to overeat too much. So that's the hard part. Because if I sit down for breakfast and they give me hash browns and bacon and scrambled eggs in it, they throw a pancake or toast, I will just eat all of it. And then if somebody's got leftovers like a sausage or something, I'll be like, can I have that? I don't know. I'll just pig out on it. So
nice.
It's so good.
That's the thing I love about diners. You could have food no matter what time of day.
24 hours a day you get breakfast.
Yep. The good ones always have pot roasts. That's if you go to a diner and they have pot roasts on the menu. I'm not talking about eating pot roast, but if they have pot roast,
if it's there.
You're at a really good diner.
Interesting. Okay. I'll have to look that up.
I grew up in New Jersey, and they have the 24/7 diners all over the place, and it's like a Bible when you open the book for like the menu. It's like, oh, jeez, it's incredible.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things is especially if I'm out kind of on my own chasing on the plains, is like waking up in a town and finding like the good breakfast place that's in a small little town in the middle of Nebraska and going there and just getting like good food. It might not be the greatest, but it's usually at places like that, it's great. I mean, it's fine. And then you see the locals who all, this one of the last days I chased this year, I was just in Nebraska on my own in July when I should be here, but I went back out for a week and, I was having breakfast and all these old ladies came in around a table and were just talking and they were putting money in like a jar. And I'm like, they do this maybe they do this every day, or maybe it was a Saturday or something. They were doing it on Saturday and they were talking and I'm like, I'm just some random like tourist looking guy here probably. And all these old folks are in, it's just fun to see this little slice of town. And I feel like at a diner, you're always going to see that kind of stuff. They're always the usuals that come in, the regulars.
Yep.
Yeah, I love it.
So I know you're a fan of Marvel.
Yes.
And I think I already know the answer, but who is your favorite Marvel character?
I don't know. I guess I have to say Thor, but I don't. I don't know that he was until Thor Ragnarok, where he was funny Thor, and then even in the other ones after that, Infinity War, he's funny in that with the Guardians and stuff. He became funnier and better, and that's when he became a really good character. But I think that's from the movies. But I do think Captain America and Iron Man are like just the two greatest. They carry that whole thing, and it's kind of a disappointment with the new stuff coming out. I hope that they can find a little bit of the magic again. I don't know that they're going to, but there was nothing like. I know, most of the time people are going to think superhero movies pretty nerdy, but what Marvel did with 22 movies to have this whole arc and all these characters that grew and changed over time to come together to this climactic monster ending, it will never be done again and never had been done up until that point. So even if you don't like it, it's like a feat that they should have won an Oscar for the whole body of work or something, like, because it was an achievement I've never experienced before. And being, with that last movie, I actually have a little shelf where I've got like 4 different versions of like Thor. I've got Fat Thor. I've got the Fat Thor with the hammer and the axe from Endgame and all this stuff. I've got all kinds of. I guess I got a bunch of that stuff. But the last movie, I bought when the tickets were available. There's a theater we always go to, and I bought 25 tickets, and I didn't even have in mind yet who I would ask, other than I knew a bunch of people I'd ask. But I'm like, I'm just buying a block of 25. Got them all. Had everybody. Gave them to the people that I wanted to have be there. We all went, and it was. If you ever seen did you go see it when it came out?
Oh yeah, yeah, I did.
Right. So, if you ever watch on like YouTube, they'll have videos that show audience reactions to Endgame, like when when Captain America gets the hammer and all this stuff, and it's like there's like a couple things I'd love to be able to go back to July 5th and shoot the dust storm again, and I'd love to go back to Endgame and experience that again for the first time.
Wow.
Because I mean, like, it's weird because that was like the way it unfolded in the magic. Like, it's just yeah, it's a superhero movie, but my God, like they had all these characters show up and you loved all of them, and it was and they wrote everybody great. It's just,
I agree 100% with you. And the funny thing, when you mentioned that Thor 2,
yeah,
what was it called?
Dark World, The Dark World, I think.
The Dark World. Yeah, that was one of my least favorite, Marvel movies.
Yep.
But you're right, the way they ended it, I remember afterwards, I was just like, that was incredible. Like the emotions and everything, bringing it together, the story arc. It was, and everything else after that feels kind of flat. Almost like, leave it alone. That was fantastic.
Yeah, bravo, let's end it. Yeah, I knew it once they started announcing we're coming out with this series and this series and this one and all these TV shows on Disney Plus. I'm like, oh boy, here we go. It's just like everything else is going to get ruined. And they found the magic with
Thunderbolts.
I think Thunderbolts was really good, and Deadpool Wolverine was fantastic, and I think Deadpool will be in something down the road. Fantastic Four was fine, but I think Thunderbolts was actually better, and I love Pedro Pascal like in everything, but I thought he was wrong for this. So we'll see. I don't know. I just thought he was like, he's not nerdy enough. He didn't talk fast enough for like, I think Reed Richards should be sound a little more like he knows everything. He's smarter than anyone in the world. He should seem like it. I don't know.
Interesting.
But
yeah, I haven't seen that one yet. I'm waiting for it to come on
good.
TV.
It's fine. It's enjoyable. They just I think they failed at I think that he was miscast, and I don't think all the characters were like at the end were kind of like as important. Like some of them, I feel like they didn't really give them something critical to do. Whereas you watch Endgame and all these people show up and everyone does something. I mean, like Spider-Man grabs a hammer, Black Panther's like, I'll take it from here. All the women superheroes clear a path for Cap. Like everybody, like it just was so magical how they could have like 50 different people and give them all something to do. Whereas I watch Fantastic Four and I'm like, man, they didn't give the thing something exciting to do at the end. Like, why not? Like, how hard is that? So
well, the one thing they missed out in Endgame was just the Hulk was kind of
yes,
he was
I was a little
left
bummed by brainy Hulk.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's the one who got the snap, so he did have like almost the biggest thing. He had to put it on, and it made sense that it was like. I love it. He's like, it's got to be me. None of you could take it. I'm just like, God. And that part was cool. But you're right. I would have loved to see. I would have loved to see a little bit more of like him just smashing stuff and going nuts.
I think the one person who does it really well is James Gunn, because he really understands character development.
Yes,
and he did a great job with Peacemaker. Have you seen that on HBO?
No, I started watching the first season. I don't remember if I finished it, but I hear it's great. I need to just start watching it.
It's very violent, but man, Vigilante, the side character, is amazing.
Really,
he's so good. I can't get enough of him.
Well, if I watch The Boys, and if you're worried about violence, I don't think.
Oh, okay. No, you're
The Boys
okay.
is very bad.
John Cena,
he did
fantastic.
really good with. John Cena's good, and Gunn did really good with Superman. I like that better than Fantastic Four, actually. So it was really good.
He's so good at what he does. So hopefully that universe comes together.
Yeah, we'll see.
A couple more questions.
Yes.
And so one of the things I like to do is ask about like what is the hardest thing about what you do in photography? Or the most difficult?
I think the hardest thing is probably just like, to me, it's probably like mental health kind of stuff. Just kind of being able to be, content and happy with what I have, and not, there's constant early on, lots of competition. Even 3 days ago, I was like, I posted a photo going, I've dreamt of being able to go back to 2011 and redo capturing the dust storm that hit Phoenix with what I know now. And I'm like, well, on the 25th, I was actually able to do that in a way where I was there with the most epic dust storm I've seen, and I was able to capture it with all the skills and everything, and share it and have reels go viral and all this stuff. But there was a bunch of other people there. There were people from out of state flying drones that had an inkling something might happen. And so I didn't make as much like maybe money or impact that I could have made if it had been in 2011 and I'd done it, because back then my video was viral. It was on every newscast. My time lapse of it was the only one. It was just mine. Well, this one, there is just, my reel I shot that my broker posted, it's getting flagged on like his copyright computer, but it's not mine. It's someone else's who was standing next to me or right there. So there was so many similar things. And like some guy time-lapsed it from ASU Stadium in Tempe coming across the stadium. It's super cool. Well, he's like, I saw Sports Illustrated, ESPN shared his time-lapse of the dust storm. And I'm like, man, and I did really good with mine. So there's this competition, this mental aspect. There's this difficulty of trying to be the best and trying not to let other people's successes bring you down. I feel like that's the hardest thing I deal with is more of that. And obviously doing photography as a business, as a career is like crazy stupid. I feel like, I'm doing it, but it just feels, sometimes I still can't believe that I'm doing it. And so I'm constantly ready for it. I'm 50 and I've got, I had to buy my daughter a car, and I'm like, expenses keep going up, and I'm like, how am I supposed to, that's, to me, that's been the hardest thing, is once I turned it into a career, it's like not being necessarily burnt out by the mental aspect and the pressure of trying to provide and all that. That's where sometimes I was like, man, maybe I should just get a regular job and not have this mental ups and downs, like that kind of bog you down sometimes. So
I'm shaking my head, because you'll still have mental hurdles doing those jobs as well. And
I know,
especially what you do and what you've experienced. It's such a grass is greener kind of way to look at things.
I agree, and I think even though I say that, I know that I'd be like, well, then I would have this job and be worried about being laid off or something.
Oh boy, that's one thing scares the hell out of me.
It's not like you're any more secure.
Yeah, So on the opposite side, what is your favorite thing about what you do?
I guess my favorite thing is that I think over my life, I would get ideas of businesses to start, like did my own web design company. I did sports writing for a little bit. I always felt like I wanted to do something. I tried to do an entertainment blog because I love TV. We wrote about TV shows and recaps and all that kind of stuff. But this was the thing that I found that was what I was meant to do. So I think for me, it's just that I found something that I love. I get to be home with my kids. I travel when I got to chase, but for the most part, the bigger chunk of the year, I'm home. And so I'm here during the day. I'm here, for their soccer games. I can, my wife works at home too, so we both can grab the kids, do whatever, been watching Hard Knocks for the Buffalo Bills at lunch the last couple of weeks. And so I really love the freedom I think that I have doing this. I always had a hard time sitting at a regular desk, not wanting to do something else. I think, like you said at the beginning, like you maybe feel a little unfulfilled and a little bit like, man, and so for me, I think I always felt like that. Like I was good at my job, but I always wanted to do something else. I was always trying to reach for something else. And so, now it's like, now I can just, do what I want, do what I love, and take a nap every afternoon if I want, which I do a lot. So I have weird hours, and I always like, around 1, I'm going to take a nap. I love that part, that freedom to do that. So, I'm pretty happy. It's been a nice, I'm happy that I'm doing what I love, but I think it's been a nice thing that I finally found, a business that I could sink myself into and have the freedom to kind of just do whatever. And when you have kids, it's nice to be able to not be gone 8 or 9 hours a day and be so tired when you come home because you've been so focused where it's like I can have a lot more time for them.
That's a fantastic answer.
Yeah.
What would you be doing now if you weren't doing photography? If you could put yourself in that space?
If I wasn't doing this, I'm assuming I'd still be at the job I had before, which was I did something called worked on SCADA systems, HMI design, where I would build computer graphics, almost like web pages for power plants, water treatment plants, control screens that would I would design them. I wasn't doing like serious electrical engineering, but more of computer programming and design and HMI user interfaces. It was fun, like a little bit. I mean, we would watch a plant start being constructed on, and we'd have drawings and electrical plans like 2 years ahead of whenever this is going to be done, and we'd start building programs and testing stuff in the office, and I'd work back and forth with these guys, and then the plant would be kind of almost done, and you'd take your stuff out there, install it, start testing stuff, turn a pump on, it would turn on in the field. You just test all this stuff, and seeing it actually start working was really fulfilling. It was one part of it that you're like, oh, but it was like this kind of tiny part at the very end that you get to see after 2 years of work. And so it wasn't like you were always, so I guess I'd probably end up doing that. I was working at home full time. I had a good job, and I worked for a very large company, CH2M Hill, and I could have transferred to any place I wanted, I think. And so I'm assuming that's what I would be doing. I can't imagine that I would have had any experience or anything to do anything else. So,
well, I'm glad God put you in the place where you belong, because
me too.
You're doing some amazing work. So if I'm a Mike Olbinski fan, I'm sorry about that pause.
No, it's okay.
Where can I find all your stuff? Let's say I want to buy merch. I want to follow you on Instagram, Twitter, all those things. Like,
you can go to mikeolbinski.com, and that's my main website, and it should have links to everything, to my gallery, to merch stuff. I have a masterclass where I put out like 60 plus videos and all this, like 15 hours of time-lapse stuff, photography stuff, chasing, weather, forecasting, all the stuff that I use to get me to do what I do. So I think my website is probably good. I have another, I have one of those Lincoln or bio links or whatever, me.mikeolbinski.com, that probably has a link to all kinds of stuff, but I'm so bad about updating that and remembering it. So, but they can go there, but mainly, I think I do most of my posting on Instagram and YouTube. And if you just look up my name, you can find it there real easy.
So you do workshops as well?
Yeah, I do. Mostly lately I do tours on the planes where I take people chasing, like 7 days at a time, 3 people in my 4Runner, and we go chasing. I've been doing that for probably 10 years now. And man, it's crazy. I mean, I will always, we've had people like IBM filmmakers follow us, Nat Geo stuff. I had Canon, a Nat Geo guy follow me and make a little film for Canon and stuff. And I'm taking people on. So I'm like, usually I'll guide people so they get their own footage, and then I'll take my own tour guests. And then I'll do virtual workshops like over Zoom. I used to do a monsoon one once or twice a year where like 3 people would come and we go stay in Tucson for 5 days. But it's a little less popular than chasing tornadoes. People come from all around the world to chase tornadoes. The monsoon is not as popular. So I stopped trying to do those as much. But I'll do like these flex workshops where people will want to come out for a few days and go, hey, I just want to chase monsoon for a few days. And so I charge them per day. They come out for a week, and I'll be like, yeah, tomorrow looks really good. So then we don't go out on days that aren't good, and they don't waste their money. And then I don't have to go chase stuff that's crap, and I can be home and not be out. So, and that's the other part of summer is tough to want to do more workshops after I've been like gone most of May and June. I get pretty drained. So.
Well, that's interesting. You said about monsoon. So I love the monsoon because of the clouds, the coverage, the rain coming down, all that stuff. But
landscapes, lightning. Yep.
And so you're saying there's more of like storm chasing where tornadoes, you get the cells, the tornadoes itself. Is that where you're kind of positioning towards because people want that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not necessarily positioning. It's just more of, yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's just always been easy to fill. I get the same repeat people every year, and then some new people. That's big business. I'm like a tiny little tour company. I could be bigger. There's guys out there like Roger Hill with Silver Linings Tours that go chasing with 3 vans and bring like 18 guests from around the world. Like, they'll do that like 3 times. I mean, they have like a really big one, but they do like maybe 12 weeks of tours, and they always have people. So it's big business for lots of people. That's how they earn their whole living. That's their whole business out there. Out here in the monsoon, you can do that, but it's just not as popular. So you have to work harder to fill those spots.
But can you also, like, when you're doing that as a business, could you also do your own thing as far as the time lapses?
Yeah.
Like, how do you manage both
point.
of those?
That's the whole point of why I started doing them, was so that I could basically chase for free, make money, and get my own time lapse stuff. So basically, it's marketed as a tour. You get to go with me and experience what I experience. So we go where I want to go, and we do what I want to do. And most of the people that come are drawn to the kind of work I do, which is time lapse and stills and something more beautiful than not more beautiful, but there's other tours that are like extreme tornado tours where their whole point is just to get you up by a tornado. And sometimes people aren't even getting out of their car. They're just shooting out the window. They might jump out for a second or back in. People that come for me are like, my friend Will came from Australia, and he's like a Nikon ambassador, and he just wanted to get epic photos because that's what he likes to do. And so he's not going to go with these other tour companies that don't specialize in that. So for me, I pull up on a spot and I jump out and grab my gear, and I'm set up and do what I want, and I let them do what they want to do, and I order them around and tell them, get back in, we're leaving, and all that kind of stuff. But for the most part, that's kind of, and people want to come do it, they don't, it's a lot of fun. It gets the mental aspect of that too is tough when you're trying to get people on good stuff and you might pick the wrong place that day. It kind of sucks. But you kind of start letting it roll off your back after a while. There's nothing you can do about it. Most people that go with you know, they already try to chase the weather at their own, like in their own country or whatever, and they know how hard it is, so they get it.
That's so cool, especially when you work with people who understand and get that.
Yeah.
You're not feeling stressed over that. I'm glad you also said that about like, storm chasers, where it's more rough, extreme, and there's a perfect market for that. I think yours is more artistic, beautiful, and it has its place as well. So it's a good mix between the two. So
it is, and I think that's what's cool, is that there's people who don't want to do what I want to do. They just want to go out and have fun and be close to tornadoes, and so there's tour companies that are out there for them to do that, and they also like to just be with like a big group and kind of just. They don't want to be out there taking pictures and be worried and stressed about that. They just want to have a vacation, And so I think a lot of people just go with them. There's like, so those groups will have like old ladies that'll just go out, like a couple friends, and they'll go out and chase tornadoes, and they're not there to do anything but my phone, take some pictures, and just be out for like a week vacation kind of thing. And that's what they want to do. That's cool.
Well, thank you, Mike. This has been a blast. So much fun. Really cool guest. And I appreciate it. I hope we could talk later down the road, and reach out anytime. Absolutely. If you want to collaborate, or if you just want to talk shop. Be happy to do that. Okay, man. Thanks, Andy. Well, I appreciate being on. Always fun to talk about something that you love, and get to share with people. I feel like that's why I started doing this in the first place, is to be able to share the weather with people. So thanks for having me on. I want to thank Mike for coming on this podcast. I'm a huge fan of his and have been following for years, so that was amazing to me. And I was so excited when he said yes, and this did not disappoint at all. Be sure to check out Mike Olbinski's work at mikeolbinski.com and follow him on social media, where his profiles and latest updates live. And by the way, he is very active on social media. You're going to fall in love with his work. And all the links and info will be in the description for easy access. And if you enjoyed this episode, please consider liking, subscribing, and hitting that bell, and share with your friends to help more creative minds discover these stories. Your support truly does make a difference. And if you want to know more of my work,
visit talentfreaks.com, where you could explore some of my video work as well as my current passion for photography. And if you have ideas or guests that you'd like to see on the show, don't hesitate to reach out or leave in the comments. I love bringing fresh perspectives to the podcast. Until next time, keep exploring, keep creating, and stay curious.